Are congruence and equality the same in geometry? Have you ever wondered if congruence and equality mean the same thing in geometry? Let's break it down and find out how these two concepts relate to each other. First, let's clarify what we mean by equality. In geometry, equality refers to the exact sameness of numbers or measurements. For instance, if two angles measure 45 degrees, we say they are equal. This means they have the same numerical value. Now, congruence is a bit different. Congruence refers to geometric figures or objects that have the same shape and size. Two figures are congruent if one can be transformed into the other through movements like translation, rotation, or reflection without changing their size. So, how do these two concepts differ? Equality applies to numbers or measurements. For example, if we say the length of segment AB equals the length of segment CD, we are talking about their numerical values. On the other hand, congruence applies to the figures themselves. If we say segment AB is congruent to segment CD, we mean they have the same length and shape. When we look at angles, two angles are congruent if they have the same measure. Their measures are equal numbers, but saying they are congruent emphasizes the geometric relationship between the angles themselves. Let's consider triangles. Two triangles are congruent if all corresponding sides and angles are equal in measure. This means the triangles are identical in both shape and size. If we say angle A equals angle B, we are referring to their measures being equal. But if we say angle A is congruent to angle B, we are stating that the angles themselves are the same in size and shape. In geometry, congruence is an equivalence relation. This means it has certain properties. It is reflexive, meaning a figure is congruent to itself. It is symmetric, so if figure A is congruent to figure B, then figure B is congruent to figure A. It is also transitive, meaning if figure A is congruent to figure B and figure B is congruent to figure C, then figure A is congruent to figure C. Equality shares these properties, but it applies to numerical values rather than geometric objects. In proofs and geometric reasoning, we use congruent statements for figures and equality statements for their measurements. When working with shapes like triangles, circles, or polygons, congruence helps us establish when two shapes are identical in form and size. This is important for constructions, proofs, and problem solving. Equality is used when comparing measurements, such as side lengths or angle degrees, often as part of establishing congruence. In summary, congruence in geometry means two figures have the same shape and size and can be mapped onto each other through rigid motions. Equality means two numbers or measurements are the same. Congruence relates to the figures themselves, while equality relates to their numerical measures. Understanding this distinction helps clarify how shapes and measurements interact in geometry.